Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. Three new ministers sworn in at President's House. The Point 14 desalination plant is commissioned. And the Minister of Health opens a new laboratory in Couva. Thank you for joining us to our top story. One day after the announcement by Prime Minister the Honourable Kamla Persad-Desasa of the Cabinet Realignment, a swearing ceremony took place at the office of the President, St. Anne's. The ceremony commenced at about 3 p.m. where Captain Gary Griffith was sworn in as Minister of National Security, Gerald Hadid as Minister of Communication, and Razia Ahmed as Minister of State in the Ministry of Gender, Youth and Child Development. The event was attended by the Honourable Prime Minister along with family members of the new ministers. Ministers Griffith, Hadid and Ahmed are all expected to visit their ministries within the coming week to meet with staff and to begin work. In other news, the days of an inconsistent water supply in Point 14 is over as a new desalination plant has been commissioned.
Over 29,000 residents of Point 14 and environs are now benefiting from the full ramping up of operations of the Point 14 desalination plant. On Wednesday, the formal commissioning of the desal plant took place at Petrotrin's Marine Terminal Facility, Point 14, where the plant is housed. The chairman of the Water and Sewage Authority gave the details of the agreement that saw the construction of the plant.
The Point 14 desalination plant, when functioning at its optimum, will have a total output capacity of 4.6 million gallons per day of water. As I said earlier, the plant was constructed on the basis of the well-known build, own and operate contract agreement. This has proven to be quite an efficient method of construction. Work on this project on the ground here actually started in May of 2012, and delivery of water into WASA's transmission system just happened within 1 year, or just over a year, I should say, a year and a few months. By doing this, in many ways, WASA is preparing for a future in which potable water will become a commodity that in many parts of the world will be difficult to access and costly to treat.
Mr. Murad said WASA is being proactive by utilizing available technology to process water that is widely accessible, given that Trinidad and Tobago are islands that are surrounded by the sea. The president of Seven Seas Water Corporation, John Curtis, also noted the importance of having a consistent supply of water that can easily be accessed from the surrounding sea. Seven Seas has had a presence in the Caribbean for some time now, and locals are expected to benefit from the experience that is brought to the island by the company.
This is our 11th plant here for our group in the Caribbean. All of those plants are operated and maintained by local nationals who are our employees, all of whom receive significant training as part of our company's standard procedures.
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Water Resources, Ganga Singh, gave an overview of the impact the government has made on providing water for all.
In 2010, the percentage of population receiving a 24/7 water supply was 18%. While today, even before the commissioning of this plant, the percentage of the population receiving a 24/7 supply stands at 44%. A 26% increase over 3 years. Nothing short of phenomenal. In addition, over 71% of the population served by WASA's pipeline network in Trinidad is receiving a supply of potable water 5 days per week. Extraordinary in 3 years. And once more, I wish to add that this is before the addition of this 4.6 million gallons per day from this Seven Seas plant. I eagerly await the statistical analysis of the impact of the production of this plant. In our sister isle, Tobago, over 83% of the population is currently receiving 5 days, 24-hour, at least 5 days, 24-hour water supply. And 67% of that 83% is receiving a 24 hours, 7 days per week water supply, almost achieving the target of water for all in Tobago.
The Member of Parliament for Boyne-Forting expressed gratitude on behalf of the residents of the area for the commissioning of the desalination plant.
Minister, my sincerest gratitude to you and the government for seeing this project to the end. Together, the biggest challenges have been confronted, and that is the elimination of largely health and environmental risk for persons and businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, let us not forget that this, anyhow you take it, this is an expensive project, and water remains a scarce resource. So although technically it is not a capital investment for the government in that this was undertaken by the contractor, it is in fact the government and ultimately the taxpayers who will pay for what you use. So please conserve and continue to treat water as a precious commodity.
Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Residents of Couva and the people of Trinidad and Tobago, by extension, will continue to receive first-class health care. This as the handover ceremony and the opening of the Couva Health District Health Facility Laboratory came to fruition. The initiative is in collaboration with the Southwest Regional Health Authority, together with the Ministry of Health and PSC Nitrogen.
Healthcare is everyone's business, and this milestone heartens the parties involved in this initiative, as they continue to show enthusiasm and commitment to catering healthier community and, by extension, a healthier nation. Thus, the creation of a laboratory is a definite example that the government is moving in the right direction. Chairman of the Board of Directors, Southwest Regional Health Authority, Dr. Lakram Bodo, commended PS Nitrogen for reaching out to the SWRHA and making such a sustainable contribution to the healthcare landscape.
Today marks a milestone in regard to private-public partnerships in the provision of healthcare. The corporate responsibility demonstrated by PCS Nitrogen and its employees will go a long way to foster the development of a healthcare system that meets the needs of our very diverse society.
Dr. Bodo says the commissioning of the laboratory will immediately lead to some distinguishable benefits.
There will be no need to send blood samples taken from Couva, Grand Couva, Freeport, Tudds Road, and the Carolina South Cluster to the San Fernando General Hospital, a facility that I'm sure you are aware, ladies and gentlemen, is already overburdened. For our patients, this means a faster turnaround time for reports and consequently a shorter time for diagnosis and treatment, leading to an improved quality of care.
Speaking at the handing over ceremony, Health Minister Dr. Fordkan says the laboratory will serve as a catchment area of more than 162,000 people in the region of Couva and environs. Dr. Khan said the Ministry of Health and, by extension, the government welcomes the growing interest and acceptance of the private sector in enhancing the delivery of health care in the country.
It will have a positive social impact by generating goodwill for the business, etc. There is a wide variation in corporate social responsibility, reaching from merely a public relations strategy to a meaningful contribution to our society. Today, this is an example of the latter. This lab will bring meaningful change and also brand positioning for both the private, which is PCS Nitrogen, and public Ministry of Health.
The minister says the ministry has developed a medical lab regulation policy which will be used to determine process and progress of diseases and the effect use of managing such a disease.
Hence, they must all adhere to strict international standards and codes and must be monitored and regulated to provide not only accurate core values of investigation, but to be consistent all the time. The policy and legislation will address the laboratory permits as well as the qualifications of the staff involved.
Figures indicate that the Couva DHF is the most heavily utilized of the district health facilities, attending to approximately 300 patients on a daily basis, with over 8,500 patients monthly. It is also significant to note that for the last year alone, some 25,187 lab tests were sent to the San Fernando laboratory from this facility alone for processing. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
When we come back, budget review on food production and national security. Stay with us. As the anticipation builds for the presentation of the 2013-2014 fiscal package by the Honorable Larry Howai, Minister of Finance and the Economy, we will analyze and review the promises and commitments made by the government in the 2012-2013 fiscal package. We continue with a look at the agriculture sector.
Delivering the 2012-2013 budget presentation, Minister of Finance, Senator the Honorable Larry Howai, said the government proposed to reduce the nation's food import bill by 50% or just over $2 billion per year by 2015. He announced that achieving food security was the government's top priority, especially in light of the increased levels of inflation and the harmful impact on citizens. It was then proposed on a temporary basis that value-added tax would be removed from all food items except luxury items and alcoholic beverages. Minister Howai revealed that the Ministry of Food Production agreed to take the following steps to address the situation.
The National Agriculture and Marketing Development Corporation is establishing a commodity stabilization fund which will initiate measures to stabilize both the supply and the price of identified produce on the market, while at the same time strengthening the agro-processing sector. The Ministry of Food Production, through a competitive process, is now actively distributing to the national farming community standard leases for small and large farms. These farms will occupy 4,111 acres on Caroni lands and 100 acres each on state lands at Tucker Valley. A condition of the leases will be agreed cultivation as quickly as possible. The Ministry of Food Production is continuing to distribute standard agricultural leases for 2-acre-sized plots to the former employees of Caroni. We have decided to expedite the lease issuance exercise by utilizing private attorneys to assist in the preparation of the leases. We expect that within the next 2 years, more than 5,000 such leases will be distributed. Fourth, the Ministry of Food Production, with agricultural land becoming less and less available in Trinidad and Tobago, has moved to establish a food security facility with the government of Guyana. The facility would commit both governments to expanding agricultural production in Guyana through the establishment of commercial relationships for funding the establishment of several large agricultural estates in Guyana.
In fiscal 2013, the Ministry of Food Production launched a Breakthrough in Agriculture initiative which employs best management practices, systems biology technology, grower training and timely field support. Meanwhile, the mandate of the National Agricultural Marketing and Development Corporation was also reinstated to, among other initiatives, provide agro-processing services as well as facilitate farmers and encourage them to produce. Minister of Food Production, Senator the Honorable Devan Maharaj, piloted a farmers' outreach program that went into numerous farming communities across the country and listened to the needs of farmers in an effort to better serve them. Through this initiative, a significant number of land leases were distributed, access roads were cut, financial assistance was given to those who qualified, and a new light was shone upon the agriculture industry. What was equally impressive was the attention given by the ministry's Fisheries Division to strengthening the seafood industry, which saw the Seafood Industry Development Company Limited and the Sugarcane Feed Center step up its operations to meet an increasing local demand for seafood products. Other projects pertaining to the seafood industry include a proposed fish processing plant at Carson Field, which had been approved by Cabinet, and the resuscitation of lands owned by the Fisheries Division to construct a fingerling fish farm to add to the supply of local tilapia. The Food Production Minister revealed earlier this year that Trinidad and Tobago is expected to domestically produce 50% of the local demand for rice by the year 2018, as steps were being taken to revitalize the rice industry. Another large-scale project that was launched under the ministry was the Caroni Green Initiative, which targeted the approximate 7,000 agricultural plots leased to former employees of Caroni 1975 Limited. It was revealed by Minister Mirage that one of the main issues affecting agriculture in Trinidad and Tobago is that of a labor shortage. As such, an agreement was signed between the ministry and CPEP that allowed workers to receive training and access to job opportunities within the agriculture sector. The Ministry of Food Production is expected to make significant strides in this field within the next year and beyond, and at least an equal budget allocation as that received in the 2012-2013 budget presentation will tremendously assist in these efforts. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Crime was also a major focal point of the 2012-2013 national budget, with national security receiving $5.503.7 million to fight criminal elements in society.
During fiscal year 2012-2013, crime became a major focal point of the national budget, with national security receiving $5.5 million to fight criminal elements in society. Finance Minister Larry Howard underscored the importance of fighting crime and ensuring citizen safety as critical to the governance and economic success of a nation. Allocations were made to ensure police training were provided, while additions to their vehicles were made in an effort to boost their crime-fighting techniques.
Police vehicles are now being equipped with GPS technology. 75 police charge rooms are currently being computerized. Video conferencing is now being made available, and evidence-based policing using scientific methods for solving crime is being strengthened. We will be reintroducing dedicated police highway patrols and establishing 32 community police units in key areas to increase police presence in high-risk areas.
From the bolstering of vehicles to surveillance equipment, Minister Howard saw this as necessary in removing crime in society. In the government's fight against crime, mechanisms put in place included tax exemptions for the purchase of closed-circuit television systems, CCTV cameras, and digital video recording equipment.
I propose that the non-taxable special allowance now being paid to the members of the Protective Service will be extended to include the Special Reserve Police officers. This will be effected by an amendment to the Special Reserve Police Act, Chapter 1503, and will take effect from October 2nd. The purchase of CCTV cameras and digital video recording equipment for homeowners, communities, and business security will be exempt from customs duty.
In April this year, the National Security Ministry made the announcement that VAT and import duties be removed from the importation of these cameras.
We're trying to make the CSI unit a unit with about 120 persons who will be skilled not only in retrieving bodies and things like that, but in harvesting DNA from crime scenes. And from doing extra work, we have some beautiful instruments to my right. And so we will continue to build the capacity. In this way, we will be able to affect in a very meaningful way the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago.
Victim compensation was something the Finance Minister also prioritized, as too many persons often lost their loved ones who were once the sole breadwinner of the family. Justice Minister Chrislyn Moore ensured the manifestation of this 2012-2013 budget highlight when 6 persons were appointed as new members of the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board.
Redress the imbalance in the system that victims may feel by providing an avenue for which they can be compensated for criminal acts perpetrated against them and against their relatives. In that regard, it is of utmost importance that this board, as with all other boards, comply with all rules and regulations surrounding the their appointment and surrounding the operations of state boards in general.
One of the critical arms in fighting crime lie within the Defence Force and Coast Guard. Minister Hawaii outlined the implementation of a new naval operations plan to combat the drug trade. National Security Minister Emmanuel George noted that Trinidad and Tobago can expect expansion of these areas in fiscal 2014.
I would like now to itemize a number of the government's plans and policy initiatives which are being pursued by the Ministry of National Security for implementation during the fiscal year 2014 and beyond. These include, inter alia, construction of Coast Guard facilities at Galeota, construction of several strategically located bases.
Kimberam Kalawan, News 4.
When we come back, our sport report. Stay with us. Trinidad and Tobago senior men's football team staged a dramatic comeback in their game against the United Arab Emirates at the OSN Cup in Saudi Arabia. The Soca Warriors came from behind to take the game to penalties.
The Soca Warriors faced a difficult first half, playing in temperatures approaching 42 degrees Celsius just 24 hours after arriving in the country. They went in at halftime down 2-0 after Habib Fadand opened the scoring for the UAE in the 8th minute. Ali Ahmed then put another one past Jan Michael Williams in the 40th. The UAE made it 3-0 in the 52nd minute courtesy an Ahmed Khalil goal. That was 3 goals for the UAE without response, but the Warriors lived up to their name and began a fight back with the introduction of Willis Plaza. Plaza got on the scorebook with this beautiful header to initiate the Warriors' comeback. Kenwin Jones then converted a penalty after this foul to put the Warriors 1 goal away from a possible berth in the finals of the competition. Kevin Molino completing the comeback when he converted this cross by Robert Primus to send the game into penalty kicks. The Warriors kept on fighting even in the penalties, but in the end the UAE prevailed when Kevan George's sudden death penalty was saved by UAE's keeper to force the Warriors into a third-place playoff against Saudi Arabia. Speaking after the game, coach Stephen Hart minced no words as he spoke about the Warriors defending.
We knew this game would be difficult. I thought we were very sloppy in the first half, both when in possession and particularly defensively. If you look at the 2 goals we gave up, we failed to attack the ball on the first header, and the second goal we backed off and allowed the guy to shoot. The third goal, well, okay, it scored, which was their best goal, but they created maybe only 3 or 4 chances in the game. And the second half, I thought we had a much better rhythm. Willis Plaza came on. He did very well for us. He started to run behind. Peltier started to get behind some more, and we got ourselves back into the game.
Coach Hart says he intends to put the time before the next game to good use, and he also plans to improve upon the positives, including the team's fighting spirit.
Well, it gives us a little bit of a chance to acclimatize, maybe have 2 training sessions to get a little better accustomed to each other. But most of all, I'm pleased with the fact that we scored goals and we showed a desire to come back from 3-0 down. That in itself is an experience we can visit.
The Warriors face off against Saudi Arabia on Monday for the 3rd place matchup. Gregory McBurney, News 4 Sports.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 Report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.